We rolling? And action.
So we just got done watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. It was pretty cool.
But
the fucking... you goddamn...
Okay, there we go.
Jeez. Nothing... Every freaking video, every freaking stream that I have done in the last 3 days, some technical shit has gone wrong.
Well, there we go. We got enough light that we can barely be seen.
Well, at least it's not as bad as Mike S. Miller, who left his stream running for 9.5 hours.
Ooh.
His kids, he was doing a game stream, and his kids they did like 2 hours of gaming, and then they left it. So for like 9 hours straight, it's just Mike's chair. And so, like I went to bed, and I got up at like 7 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, and it was still going. So I did a mock interview of Mike's chair.
Okay, don't edit any of this out, by the way. Leave it.
Yeah, oh no, it's going in there. There was like 23 people, and some of those people stayed there the whole time.
Who the hell are these people?
Okay, there are these things they've been doing. They're called zombie streams. And this has happened a couple of times before. Ethan did one, and that thing ran for like 12 hours. Okay, and then somebody else, I can't remember, somebody else did one, and now Mike's done one. So
I have to believe that those people were not watching the whole time. Like, they just left their computer on and they left it on.
No, I can confirm that some of those people were watching the whole damn time, because what some of them were doing is they were leaving because there's these things you can do in YouTube on YouTube called super chats, where you can donate money. People were donating like $1 at a time, doing super chats like every like hour or so. By the time, like, put it this way, when Mike got done this morning, he had $50 of super chats. it's
even coming back every hour to do that while still walking away to like go to the bathroom and get a bite to eat. That's still a long commitment.
But the thing is you're not sitting there by yourself. You're sitting there talking to people, and we were busting on Mike hard. We were talking about, because Mike's kind of short. I was like, talking about how he's only 3 apples high. And it's like, during the interview, chair says Mike is depressed. I said, well, of course he's depressed. He's using the booster seat that his children used. But anyway.
You will have to leave a timestamp, like, okay, the review begins now.
Now. Anyway, yeah, okay, so to the review. Holly doesn't want to spoil anything, so we're not going to.
I really don't. I liked this movie. I can understand why there are people who are saying they don't like it if they're going in with certain expectations.
Yeah, if you're going in with the expectation of some crazy shit popping off immediately, you're going to be very, very, very upset.
It's a slow burn. It's a
really... I'm going to put it this way. For a while, was going, is anything going to happen in this fucking movie?
Well, even I was feeling it at times, but there's a very slow buildup of tension if you are at all familiar with the real-life events that this movie is built around. Yeah. If you're even familiar that happened, then in the back of your mind, something's going to go down at some point. Yeah. So even the really slow parts where even I have, patience of Job when it comes to movies like this. I was like, okay, why are we spending so long focusing on this part? But I knew it was for a reason, because I know Tarantino enough to know that he does this stuff for a reason. I knew it was gonna pay off.
He loves his exposition.
Yes.
But I will say this. Even though it does, like, you're waiting for like the typical Tarantino shit to happen, there are some really, really cool character moments in this.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to spoil it, but like the scene with him and the girl.
Yes.
And then like when he's in the trailer, I'm like, that was like really cool.
That was DiCaprio has another like Academy Award worthy performance in this movie. Like, he deserves it for this as well, but he probably won't get it because he had to basically kill himself to get an Oscar the first time with The Revenant. But okay, couple of things. At the very beginning of the movie, and you see this in the trailer, so a lot of people were worried about this. They were worried how this was going to come across. At the very beginning, it shows... What are you looking at?
I'm looking at a bottle of water because I'm dying of thirst. Go ahead, you go.
At the very beginning, it shows DiCaprio playing as this actor and other movies that he's been in, and it's very clear that Tarantino is making fun of or alluding to his previous movies.
Oh yeah, that one scene is like right out of
Inglourious Bastards, and the whole Western bounty hunter
Django
thing,
yeah.
which is Django and Hateful Eight. There's a recurring bounty hunter theme that Tarantino seems to have fallen in love with that makes an appearance in every movie he does now.
Well, there was back in the 60s and 70s, there was a ton of that shit on TV and in films.
But it's just like the last 3 movies, this one, Hateful Eight, and Django all had a bounty hunter thing going on.
Another cool thing is just not to derail it, but the guy who was playing Steve McQueen, I can't remember his name now.
Daniel Craig?
No, it's not Daniel Craig.
I thought it was.
No, it's the guy who played in the show Homeland. It's also the guy who played the LT in Band of Brothers. I can't remember his name. The Daniel is part of it somewhere, either in the beginning or the end of it, but he does a really good Steve McQueen. Like almost every one of the people who are supposed to be
a real person,
they did a really, really good job.
Yes. Based on this, again, I'm not going to say anything specific because not knowing what's going to happen and then seeing what happens is the best part. So I'm not going to tell you specifics about the scene, but there is a scene between Brad Pitt and the guy who plays Bruce Lee. And I can understand why Bruce Lee family, like the estate, is not happy about the scene.
It's a very over-the-top depiction of Bruce.
Right. But it's an awesome scene. So,
it is a cool scene. It is a really cool scene. And it sets up
something
things that happens later.
Yes.
But I can understand them because it's like, it's not really like it's Bruce Lee. It's like somebody playing Bruce Lee playing Bruce Lee. Yeah, it's it takes the Bruce Lee isms and it just takes them, dials them up to 11.
It's an exaggerated caricature of Bruce Lee. I will say that.
Yeah.
But it's still an awesome scene, and what it establishes in this scene is paid off later. A lot of things that happen during the boring parts that you have to sit through will pay off later. I will tell you that.
Yeah, and the guy playing Bruce Lee.
Yes.
And almost there's a few shots where it's like, okay, his jaw's a little bit square.
He looks a lot like
Bruce Lee. Whoever did the makeup on this and picked the actors, whoever cast this, and they did a good job.
I purposefully tried to stay away from anything before we saw this movie. I didn't want to watch anybody else's reviews. I didn't want to watch anybody's opinions or read anything. I didn't want to be influenced by anyone. And that also includes not doing a lot of research about the real people that were going to be portrayed in this movie.
You know, unfortunately, I'm really into true crime, so I know a lot about the Table La Bianca murder.
Well, I knew like basic information about it, but all the other people around it, there were some people that I'm like, okay, was this a real person or was this one of the fictional people? I'm starting to think that DiCaprio and Pitt were the only fictional people and everybody else was a real person.
I cannot confirm or deny that, but I don't know. There's a few people I think are like Zoe Quinn's character and Kurt Russell's character. They're not real.
Zoe Bell.
Zoe, they say Zoe Quinn.
Yes.
I said, oh, damn it, Zoe Bell. Yeah, which I was really surprised to see her in that. I like normally she's playing the stunt person.
Well, I wasn't surprised to see her because she's become a favorite of Tarantino. There's a lot of people who pop up in this movie that I was like, oh my god!
Except for one. Samuel L. Jackson
and Harvey Keitel. I was waiting for either one of them, and neither one of them.
Where the hell is Samuel L. Jackson, man? Even if it's the movie he's not even a part of, he always makes at least a little tiny.
Right. It was what I love about Tarantino is that he has this like troupe of actors who all fall in love with him, and they keep coming back over and over. And whenever he makes a movie that brings new people in, they must love working with him so much because they come back. They become part of the troupe. Like, I think Django was the first time he worked with DiCaprio, and Inglourious was Brad Pitt, and now here they are both here.
Yeah.
If all this movie was missing was 3 people, it was missing Samuel L., Harvey Keitel, and Christoph Waltz. If all 3 of them had little pieces in this movie, that would have been everybody. Because everybody else is in this movie.
Yeah.
Everybody who's considered like part of Tarantino's group of people, those 3 are the only 3 that are missing. Those 3, you have to open the door.
You know what? There we go.
Yeah, those 3 people are the only people who are missing. Everybody else is in here. Everybody who's had any sort of like minor part or like semi-minor part in a Tarantino movie, Just about everybody.
Well, it covers, and again, this is one of those things where it's a whole bunch of different stories at the same time. Mm-hmm. So the cast is freaking huge.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. I've seen like the scene at the hippie ranch.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen like 2/3 of those actors in other shit.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not just like, like typical stand-ins. They're actual actors from other shit.
Mm-hmm. Now, as much I want to establish ahead of time, if it's not clear already, I really like this movie. Really, really like this movie. There's one thing I will say, and I hate slagging off anybody, but there's one thing that I noticed, and it stands out to me because it's unique for a Tarantino movie. Tarantino is pretty much the master at plucking people from obscurity. In every movie he does, there's always one known actor who kind of like faded off into like one really
shows up. Yeah.
One unorthodox casting choice. Like, best example I could probably think of is Don Johnson in Inglourious, or Django.
Well, actually, the best example you can think of is John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, because up until that point, the dude disappeared.
Yeah, but he was a main character in that movie. I'm talking about like supporting characters, like people who just pop up. There's always, when the opening credits roll in every Tarantino movie, you see the names of the main cast, and then there's always one name that makes you go, "Wait, that guy's in this movie?"
Yeah.
And
like Chuck Connors.
Yeah,
is like, what?
Usually, what winds up happening is he makes these really unorthodox choices. He plucks these people out of obscurity. And when you watch the movie, you're blown away by them, and you're like, "Oh my God, I can't even imagine anybody else doing this now." That was brilliant. That was perfect. In this movie, the obscure actor he has cast is Luke Perry. And I gotta say, I wasn't really impressed by anything he did. Nothing he did made me go, "Wow, only he could have done this," or "That was really impressive," or "I can't," it was very underwhelming.
As much as I like Luke Perry,
right,
he was not a great actor.
Not in this.
Well, he wasn't a great actor.
I honestly can't think of anything I've seen him do that really made me go, "Wow, his performance was great."
Now, I will say this. I liked Luke Perry. I thought I think Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, is actually one of my favorite popcorn movies.
I love that movie.
But it's not because of his acting.
Right,
it's because
exactly.
it's just.
But that's the thing. That's what stood out to me. If anything was going to give him an opportunity to blow people away with a performance, usually Tarantino movies are the place to do that. And this, nothing wowed me about it. It was just there, and then it was gone, and I was like, well, okay, that could have been played by anybody, really.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Right, exactly. So that's the only negative I really stands out.
Again, though, that wasn't one of those things. And this is the thing that's pissing me off because I really want to talk about this shit, and she doesn't want to.
Well, you have to be vague. That scene,
though, what the girl says to him at the end of it.
To Luke or to DiCaprio?
To DiCaprio. What she says to him at the end.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then the guy goes and he's like, "Wait, that wasn't supposed to happen." Yeah. And you realize that he just buried himself in that character.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the thing I talk about. There's these cool little, even though the movie is really, it's actually kind of dry going through, but there are these really cool character moments that and you're like, wow, that's some good acting.
Yes. And also, again, I wonder if having DiCaprio play an actor who was doing that was an allusion to his enforced method acting in Django, where he cut his hand and he was bleeding all over the place, and he was so immersed that he didn't stop. Like, I wonder if that was Tarantino's tribute to him doing that.
I can't remember the woman who played Brunhilde Hildy. She said that traumatized the shit out of her because that was his real freaking blood.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't her real blood on his face, though, or on her face.
No, it was.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. There was a cut. There was a long take where it was his blood, and then it cut right in the moment where Samuel L. Jackson pushes her out of the kitchen and they come in the dining room. That's the cut where it's not his real blood.
Okay, then I misread
anymore.
that article then, because the way they talking about the article is that was his blood that he was wiping on her face.
Oh yeah, no. I wondered about that too when I first saw the movie and I knew that happened.
I'd be like, that's a fucking lawsuit right there.
Right, I was worried about that. That's what he can't possibly have done that. So I looked into it, and it wasn't his. He didn't really do that. But I
didn't get sued, and I'm like, wow, she must have really liked him then, because damn.
I'm getting air in here because the windows are fogging up.
Yeah, well, it's also trying to keep the sound out. But anyway.
So I will say, for anyone who goes, I recommend this movie. I recommend seeing it. The people who are saying it isn't good are people who are, I have to believe, going in with, insane Tarantino at his most crazy expectations. Like, it's not gonna be that for a while.
I don't think it's insane. I think it's just that they're going. If you're going in expecting what you've seen in the last couple of Tarantino movies, you're not gonna get that. It's gonna be. It's a movie you have to invest in.
Yes, but that's what I will say. It is a very slow burn that leads to a very good payoff.
The ending is like.
The ending is great, but I don't want to tell you anything about it.
The ending is like pretty holy shit.
That's the thing, because that was part of the great experience of it. Was I didn't know anything, so I didn't know where it was going to go. And knowing Tarantino, he's unpredictable. Anybody could die at any time. You don't know who's going to die. You don't know what's going to happen.
Is there going to be a time jump?
You don't know if he's going to stick to the real life events, or if he's going to deviate, if he's going to incorporate the real life events but have other things added to it. You don't know what he's going to do. So the whole time I'm sitting there like just waiting for shit to happen and not knowing what was going to happen. So I don't want to spoil that experience for anybody out there who's going to see this by telling you stuff that happens. I want you to not know either. The problem is that if you're watching this, you're obviously seeking out reviews of it, so you've probably already seen other people spoil it for you. Don't do that if you haven't already. Don't do that.
The whole idea of him kind of poking fun at his own movies, I wonder if that's why DiCaprio has that accent, because he's kind of making fun of. Remember the accent that Brad Pitt has.
Well, Brad Pitt still has a southern accent in this one, too.
But I'm talking about like when he was playing in Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah.
Every man in my outfit owes me 100 Nazi scalps.
Well,
because the accent that DiCaprio has is like super hardcore thick.
Yeah, but I mean, Brad Pitt still has a maybe not as harsh, but he has a strong southern accent in this one, too. I think he just likes doing that accent.
It's possible. I think he's just like, you know what? I'm still going to do a goddamn... It's another Western, but it's a Western inside of another movie. He's like, I'm going to do a goddamn Western in this somehow. I'm putting a Western in here.
I think it's just like, you know what? This is the only accent I can do convincingly, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this accent in every movie I'm in from now on, goddammit.
Watching the credits, though, there was a name... I can't remember what it is now, but I went, that guy was in this movie? What the hell was he? But anyway. So anyway, long story short, it's a good movie. You have to invest in it, though. It's one of those movies where it's going to take you, and then it's going to pay off, like, right at the very end. It's like this huge payoff.
Yes.
And it's a good payoff.
Yes. Again, I'm not going to say anything specific. Nothing. Not you either. But... There was a name that popped up in the credits, the special thanks to, and it was somebody Tate. And I found myself wondering during the movie, again, not saying anything that happens, but I found myself wondering, I wonder what Roman Polanski thinks of this. Like, he and Tarantino must have discussed this. Like, he must have...
I'll be honest with you, I don't give a fuck what Roman Polanski thinks.
I don't like him as a human being, but obviously this entire story revolves around something that happened to his
his wife. Yeah.
So
I'm not. You know, I'm not. I can understand the emotion.
So I just wonder, like, when somebody builds their entire fictional story around something like horrible, traumatic that actually happened to you, and these people and their families, like, what he must have talked with them and.
Well, I'm sure at some level there had to be a discussion about it. It was like, look, this is going to depict these things. We're not trying to hurt anybody.
Right.
You know? Which, again, I think is like what they're probably going to do with Bruce Lee's family is like, look, guys, this was not meant to be a slight to your dad or your grandfather or whatever. Mm-hmm. We were using him, like we were using a caricature of him
to establish
this thing with this other character.
Right, exactly.
Which they'll probably smooth that over. I'm sure they will. Mm-hmm. But as far as like, talking, well, not only that, but there are, I may be wrong about this. I may be making this up. I think there are still elements of the investigation that are still technically active. So
if that was the case, they wouldn't be able to do this then.
Well, no, they would. It's just because it's not this case, but things are connected to it. Like because they've always been they still trying to find a way to like pin the whole thing on Charles Manson, and like it's been a huge. There's a reason why those people still go over that case over and over and over again, even today. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, if there's something that's involving a real life person, and you're doing a depiction of that person, you have to talk to that person's estate. Yeah. So that's possible.
And, I mean, being that Tarantino's a big Hollywood director and Roman Polanski's a big, like, they must have had discussions about it.
I'm sure they've moved in circles. Or at the very least, maybe talk to them about, like, well, what happened that night?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. When did you guys do this and that or whatever? Right. If you're trying to be authentic about things, you're going to talk to as many people as possible. Mm-hmm. So it's possible. I mean, look at how many times they talked to the Tolkien estate when they were doing the Lord of the Rings movies. They're like, all right, is this okay? Is that okay? Right. But okay, so long story short, too late.
Yeah. Well, I mean, compared to
our other ones, yeah.
This is not that long actually.
It's the kind of movie you have to invest in. It's not typical Tarantino stuff. There's not like crazy stuff happening right out the gate. There's some really good character moments in it. Like I said, there's some really good acting in it. Yes. It is a slow movie, though, until the end, and then it just goes balls out.
It's a slow burn. It's a very long fuse leading to a big powder keg. Okay, yeah. You got to wait for the fuse to burn before you get the explosion that you want.
Yeah, and it's a long fuse. Yes, I'm not gonna lie, man. I understand these people going, is anything gonna happen in this movie? It does. It's just you gotta get there.
You gotta get there. Yeah, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And overall, I liked the movie a lot, and I would recommend seeing it. And if you're watching this, it might be too late, but if you haven't watched any spoilers, please don't spoil it for yourself. Go in not knowing anything. All right, so that's all I got.
So that's it. That's our immediate reaction. Yes. Our opinion may change with time. So,
what does that mean?
My opinion has changed. This is how I feel about this movie immediately. But the way my brain works is it starts breaking things down. Mm-hmm. And when my brain starts thinking things down, there have been times when I was like, this movie's pretty good, and then later I'm going, this movie is a piece of shit. So, case in point, The Last Jedi. But anyway, that's the review, guys. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, share it out, and leave some comments below and help us get this channel growing. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.